7QP. So again, this is a presentation we gave last year, and really the goal was with all the new hams as part of the club. Our big event of the year is 7QP. And why am I passionate about it? Because when I did not have an HF radio, like the one that Walt showed up there in a minute, I showed up at a 7QP. It was early on a Saturday morning. It was early. On a Saturday morning, there we go. And I sat in the tent and had my first run where there's a bigger antennas, it's a beam, it's an antenna pointed out there, and I sat at the radio and I'd seen on YouTube all these people doing the runs and making contacts. And so to start calling Whiskey Alpha 7, Lima Alpha Whiskey, calling CQ, 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 and having someone respond to me and say, you know, they respond, you are 5-9, Whiskey Alpha, Sierra November Oscar. They'd have the contact, and to have a run of like 30 people quick and someone sitting next to me logging was the coolest thing ever, and it really got me hooked. And so that was kind of my first thing. A lot of folks is just getting on the air for the first time, and that's why we're here. We're here to sit with you. I know there's been members of the club that joined the club because they found us at a field day or found us at a 7QP event. So it's an important part of who we are as a club. This is a picture of 2018, our setup at one of the parks that we've done in the past. I think that's roughly around when I probably was getting involved with the club. And this year, again, May 3rd through 4th is 7QP. So we're gonna give a little bit of an overview about what 7QP is, the basics, some basic lingo and other things as we go. Our location this year is at 10120 Chapel Hill Road. So it's the same location we've done the last couple of years. It's gonna be on our website. It's in South Lake Stevens. And so again, it's on our website. It's in the email that Tim set up. He's our contact this year. We're gonna set up Friday at 4. The event is Saturday, May 3rd. We're gonna operate from 6 a.m. to as long as folks are there and wanna operate. I think we were close to midnight last year. And then we'll tear down Sunday morning at 7. All right, so again, this was our field location last year. It's the same spot we're gonna be at this year, so it's a great open field, and we got a great spot to have the event. What is 7QP? So that is one of our signs that we need to put out there, our little billboard signs. So 7QP is 7th Call Area QSO Party. You're like, yeah, that makes it so much clearer for me. So 7 is, there are 7 states, which I see H, which makes it even more confusing now, but Washington, Idaho, Oregon, Nevada, Montana, Wyoming, Utah, and Arizona are the states that are part of the 7th area location. So I think I've got a map here that'll show it here next, but it's a QSO. So QSO, you're making contacts. You're trying to make contacts. We'll go over more next. It's a party because it's just fun. So you can see the map of the U.S. and the different regions. So we're in the 7th region, and so you can see the states that are all part of the event. And so we're going to be looking for contacts to reach us. We're going to be looking to make contacts with other states in the 7th call area. And also other parts of the country and the world are trying to reach us. All right, so again, it's 7th call area, it's an amateur radio contest, and then folks are trying to reach all the states. It's going to start Saturday at 1300 UTC, so 6 a.m. And then, so for our time here on PST at 6 a.m. to midnight, it's always the first Saturday of May. The goal is for 7th call areas to work everyone, and others are trying to work us. And the goal is to work stations once per band and mode. So there are specific bands that we will use for the contest. And then their modes are CW, digital, and voice, and so you get points for each of those, even if it's a different station. I think it was a year or two ago they made it where we can do spotting. So spotting assistance is permitted in all categories. So if you're not at our event, we're not going to be in a park on the air park or anything like that. But I think in years past, you'll have people that'll just go to a park, and so you can activate a park, do 7QP and spot yourself, and it's all valid or part of the process. The bands are 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10. So it's a few less bands than what we have for field day. Field day, you have some of the VHF bands, but a lot of the work that we'll do is usually 20-40. At night, we'll go to 80 a little bit more. And then depending on the beam and where we're pointing stuff and how the bands are looking, 15 and 10 is always fun to try. I think 15, we got a lot of stuff on field day last year, but 7QP maybe not as much. And then there's scoring, so 2 points per single sideband or voice contact, 3 points per CW, and 4 points for digital. We usually have a CW specific station for field day, and Randy helps organize and coordinate that. 7QP, some days we'll do mostly voice, so I'm not kind of sure if we'll do digital or anything else this year, but we can think through if and how we want to do that. Yeah, question?
So are those points towards our group or?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure it's clear.
Yeah, so for our club, so yeah, we are gonna try and make as many contacts as we can, but the goal is really to get folks on the air. And it's not that points don't matter, because we want to do well, but we want to make sure you're getting on the air. Good
Points
question.
are important.
Points are important. I know they are, John. It's been a while since we had a good showing as a club, so we gotta pick up the points. Question, Holly, yeah?
So, I've never been part of 7QP, but the field day event that I was at a couple of times, you have certain antennas, certain radios.
Yep.
Do people bring their own radios and antennas and you're part of the group thing, or it's just on the club's designated
That's a great question.
radio and antenna? So, thank you.
Different clubs do things different ways, but so that's a great question. We will generally, we now have 3 ICOM 7300 radios. We used to have 2. So in the past, there was usually someone who would bring a radio. And so we'll have 3 of these stations set up and the antennas. Sometimes Tim will bring an antenna, but I'd work everything with the coordinator at the event. So please just don't feel like you need to bring anything. Just show up and be part of the event. Good question.
And one thing I'd add is if you are a technician class licensee on the field day side, if there's an extra standing there, you can operate under his privileges. Great time to try out new modes and frequencies.
Yes. Yeah, you do not have to be a general class. You can be a technician class where normally you'd not be able to make contact on these bands. And that's why it's fun. We really want to focus on this today and get everyone included. Yeah, John?
You say why we limit the number of radios as opposed to people just bringing extra ones?
Yeah, so that's a good point too. Limiting the number of radios, so interference between the stations is always a big deal. And so limiting the stations helps, keeping them focused on different bands, limiting the antennas.
Triplexer.
And we do have a triplexer and it's helped, but even with that, sometimes on field day, we've had a lot of issues. So like for field day, we'll spread the CW station on the other side of the park, and we'll do some things to help. And it's the location we're at here, it's helped a lot and made it better because we're able to spread the antennas out a little bit more in the big field. But
Don't we also have to mention how many stations we're operating?
we will, for this we don't.
Well, that's just field day.
Yeah, field day we do, yes, yeah. Good questions. All right, so the exchange. So when you're looking up at a contest or part of an event, it's always about the exchange. They're slightly different. So I've highlighted the key things in yellow. If you can say WS7LAW or the phonetic Whiskey Alpha 7, Lima Alpha Whiskey, and we will have sheets of paper that say Whiskey Alpha 7, Lima Alpha Whiskey, because I know that helped me when I was getting on the air. If you can say 5'9", everyone's 5'9", you're 5'9", means you got a great signal, even if you can barely hear the person, and you have to ask 10 times to get the call sign. They are 5'9" in a contest. State, Whiskey Alpha, we're Washington State, and then Sierra November Oscar, Snohomish County. Again, what we'll do is have a sheet at each table next to the radio that has these specific things that you say spelled out just to make it really easy. There are county codes. Again, we will have sheets of these on the tables as well. It's a little hard to see. So there's the Providences in Canada, they're going to be part of the event. And then there's the state and the county abbreviations. So you can see for Washington, all the different counties here, Utah. So it's not just about the states we're trying to make contact with, but we're trying to make contact with as many counties as we can as well. And that helps with our points. So I think just to mention that that's part of the contest. When we're looking at this, you're going to hear state Utah, UT, and let's pick one in Utah. One that UTA probably is one that I remember.
George.
What was that?
Utah. George.
George. Let's pick that one. Utah. I see Grand, GRA, Golf Romeo Alpha, or there's, yeah, anyway, so you hear those things and you'll kind of get used to it. It's kind of fun when you hear a new station or band that's coming through. So why do we participate as a club in 7QP? It's really our first main event of the year. There's probably things I'm missing, but it's a way that we can get our stuff actually out of the trailer. The weather's a little bit nicer versus winter field day. It's a little bit nicer, we get stuff out. Set up the tent, get the radio, make sure that we have everything kind of tested out before field day. So I'd say part of it's a test and get everything ready for field day. A lot of it's just getting out and having fun and enjoying what we do in the hobby and other events. And I think the real importance is it's another opportunity to get people on the air for the first time. So again, that's why we're hitting it hard today, and really want to encourage folks to get out and enjoy it, because for myself and many others in the club, these events are really a key part of our journey. This is a picture going back to 2018. We were actually third place that year for the 7th Area Single County Expedition Multi-Multi. And so some of the pictures late at night when we were operating, and a full tent of people working the stations. And so you can see here that you'll have one person on the computer, usually one person on the radio. And it's a great way to get other people involved. So even if you don't want to get on the radio to start, you just want to sit next to someone and get a feel for what it's like and log, that's a great way to get involved as well. All right, so if you're interested, again, shameless plug, over the last couple of years, there's a video from a couple of years ago on my channel, if you search for my call sign W7J&J. This is one of our setups a couple of years ago for 7QP, and it's a relatively short video walking through that. There's also a couple of videos about our field day setups, and if you want to see that. And then we did a video from last year, if I can figure out how to get it to go. And so there's a minute and a half. I'm going to play just the first minute and a half because I thought it was kind of interesting. Has anyone not been to a Club 7QP or field day event in the room? Awesome. Perfect. So this is why we're doing it today, so I'm really grateful to see the hands. This minute and a half will show you what it's like to set up on a Friday night. So we're setting up the tower. And so a little bit of a lapse going on there.
Was that so you could read directions?
Yes, it took us a while. I had to speed it up, otherwise it would have been like an hour and a half. Yes, and this is probably a part where we're reminded, did you read the directions on how to install the beam? This is always a fun part, rotating the antenna to finish the assembly, so you learn all the different steps as we set up the tower. And then, of course, cranking up the tower. We did replace the cable, I think, was last year. The cable and the crank, so to make sure it's safer. So cranking up the tower.
And you have to say, next year we're going to put a motor on this.
We always talk, we should have a motor. We're all getting old. Then we had, last year, raising the antenna. You can see that was a fun event. All the cables and wires, that big mast, and we used that for one end of our fan dipole, which you can see here. The other end of the fan pipe dipole is attached to the top of the tower. So, and yeah.
And what was mentioned earlier, you could see he was actually reading
a printed with pictures instruction manual on everything that needs to be set up, the tower, the fan dipole. If you read the directions step by step, and follow them, it goes pretty quickly. Yes, Henry?
Exactly.
Except if you're Henry.
That was a good point. I will pause on this
That's pointed out
picture.
by Randy.
Yes, I will pause on this picture and focus on reading the directions with pictures. So that was our fan dipole. And I think we're almost done here. And then get the tent set up, so all the different tables and bringing the boxes in. We had the grounding cables all around the inside of the tent and everything else, and then we were at that point set up and ready for starting the next day. All right. So I thought that would, of course now I gotta figure out how to stop it.
The equipment that is used is the same at both locations. It's just configured differently because of the trees and for the fan dipole and other things. And at the Everett Park, what is it, Legion Memorial Park, we used both ends of the park. One, like last year, was the first time we did it. One for the CW station that was on its own dipole, so it didn't interfere with the beam and the fan dipole at the other end of the park.
And this is great because it went into a picture of you operating a station on the screen. So you can see we will have an ICOM 7300 radio. We will have a club laptop. We'll have some radio headphones. You can see some printed out there that has what you need to say. And so everything's kind of set up there. So let's figure out how to go back to the presentation. There we go. Perfect. So again, there's other information out there. Field day is coming up real soon, so a lot of the stuff I'm talking about today can be part of our field day, so check that out. 7QP, if you want more information, 7qp.org is the website, and so there's information there on prior year results, information about the rules, and a little bit of the background and where the event came from. And then also on our website, there will be a link as well. So w7law.org, club activity 7QP. So there's also field day and other events there. Wow, I see you standing up back there. That's awesome. Thank you.
It's a radio.
It is a radio. It needs line of sight, and there was some interference. That's funny. That's so funny. Making your first contact. So that is really what we want to encourage folks to do at an event like this. So I want to go over basic lingo, what you need to say, when you need to say it, what it looks like to chase versus run, and just basic logging software that we use. So CQ, QRZ, QRZ, QSL, 5973, and some basic phonetics. So let's go over those. CQ,
calling any station. Oh, it's not working right.
there we go. I'll stand a little forward. So calling any station, when you're first sitting down at a radio, you might hear someone calling CQ, but that's not what you'll say. So when you get more advanced, we'll get you set up, you can start calling CQ because that's fun. I'll go over this in a minute of how it fits in a conversation, but QRZ, he was calling me or acknowledging receipts, and I'll give a very specific how it's used in 7QP. QSL is I acknowledge a receipt, I understand. So sometimes when you're trying to hear a station or understand or confirm that you know what they're saying, it's QSL. Again, so for some of the newer hams, just refreshing what you've already seen. I love it. So basic lingo. So while there is all kinds of detailed information for RSD codes, readability, signal strength, and tone, like the readability on the left of 1 is unreadable, 5 is perfectly readable. So that's the first number when you're giving a signal report. Second is signal strength, faint, barely perceptible versus extremely strong signal. So we joke about it, but in a contest, it's just easier to say 5-9. It's about exchanging information. It makes it quicker. Even if they're really 2-2 or 2-1, again, that's the way. If you're a new ham and you're not in a contest, I gave a kind of tip. What I was doing when I was learning this stuff is I figured you're either 5'9", or you're kind of in the middle part, you're 5'5", or maybe you're 3'3", and that was kind of how I started to make it easier for myself. But again, there's more detail. There are meters and other things that you can refine it. And there's tone, which is used for CW. Most of us would be using voice. 7-3, it's not 7-3s, but 7-3 is best regards. And so there's a whole lot of other things, but you'll probably hear 7-3 if you're in a contest like 7QP. And then we will print these out and have these at the table as well when you're sitting down. So the phonetics: Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf. I won't go through all of them, but we're going to list it out to make it really easy. So when you're sitting down there and you don't know all these, you can just read what our call sign is in phonetics and what Washington State is in our county. So we've gone through the basic lingo, and so now let's talk about making your first contact. So what do you say? There's going to be a station out there in this example calling CQ 7QP Whiskey 7 Romeo November. And highlighted in yellow, what you say? I'd say Whiskey Alpha 7, Lima Alpha Whiskey. And I would wait. And they would say Whiskey Alpha 7, Lima Alpha Whiskey 59, November Victor, Sierra Tango Oscar. And I would say, to make it simple, 59, Whiskey Alpha, Sierra November Oscar. You can say QSL to understand, or if you just want to be really super efficient, all they need to get from me is a signal report, my state and my county. And so if you can say this at 7QP and this, you are ready to make your first contact. Any questions on this? Hopefully this is kind of helping you kind of get a feel for what it might be like to make your first contact. The next question that people, when you're sitting down there at the radio, is like, okay, now when do I say it? So it's always kind of, I think listening is the first thing I wanted to say, but in that example, a lot of times there's different procedures, so this is why I say listen. Generally, you should say QRZ at the end to make it simple. Some people are different, or do it differently. But if they're saying CQ 7QP, Whiskey 7, Romeo November, QRZ, you know they're ready to get another contact.
It's an invitation.
It's an invitation to call. Thank you for saying it that way, I like that. So as soon as they say QRZ, Whiskey Alpha 7, Lima Alpha Whiskey, and they might have all kinds of people at the same time, and then they'll go through the choose. So listening for the cadence, because it is slightly different on some stations, but in general, listening for QRZ, that's the invitation. That was a great way to say it. And then in that case, you're listening for the other station. Once you say our call sign, Whiskey Alpha 7, Lima Alpha Whiskey, they would in that case say Whiskey Alpha 7, Lima Alpha Whiskey 59, November Victor, Sierra Tango Oscar. They might say QSL, and I'd say QSL 59, Whiskey Alpha, Sierra November Oscar. And then the contact is made. They will go on and say CQ, their call sign, their CQ7QP, their call sign, QRZ, looking for the next contact. So it's really quick and it's really basic, and I'm just trying to hit that there's a few things that you need to say, and there's a few things to listen for when you say it. Yeah, John?
The one thing that's missing here is what's their response?
Yeah.
We need to get their response for the point.
Yeah, and this has that. Yeah, just to make sure, this is real efficient, but if they're calling and we respond, and they'll say, hey, Whiskey Alpha 7, 59 from November Victor, Sierra Tango Oscar. So that's their information, and we respond, and that's all that you need for the exchange. But yeah, I just want to highlight, like John did, there's those two things, because we would then, in our software, and I'll hit it next, is we would need to put in their call sign, their state, and their county. And so we'll do that next, all right? All right, so when you're running, this is where you're sitting at the radio, And I don't know if there's probably no stations, I don't have a great antenna here today. But you tune through the band and you find an open frequency, and that's always the fun part because usually there's just a lot of stations. And you start to call 7QP or CQ7QP, Whiskey Alpha 7, Lima Alpha Whiskey, calling CQ, 7QP. You might do it a little bit longer the first time, or if you're trying to get contacts, you'll do that, and then you're waiting to hear a call sign, and you get the call sign, you go through it that way. So if you're feeling ready to do that, I'd love to sit with you or one of us and help you start running. It can be stressful, but it is a blast. When you're starting to get a run and stations are starting to respond to you, and like 5 stations at the same time are calling back to you, and you have to figure out, okay, what station did I hear the best? Okay, Kilo 7 stations starting with Kilo 7, and you start to go and you get your experience and your confidence on how do I listen for stations and respond and keep order in the way that I'm going through the run. So it gives you confidence. I know a lot of folks get into AM radio sometimes for emergencies, but having something like this where you know how to operate a radio, you know how to have control and how to do like a net and just be very a process and a cadence to do it and the confidence to do it, that's an important thing. So running's a blast, but for a lot of folks, what we're gonna do is we're gonna be patient, we're gonna sit with you in a way that's comfortable for you, and we're gonna make sure you know how to use the radio, and then we're gonna get you set up and maybe let you see how it is for a few times, and then we'll have everything printed out, and we're there to, even as you're going through it, we will tell you what to say. If you're looking at us, we'll make sure you know what to say and to get on the air. John, anything to add?
Yeah, just on the subject of stress, remember to them you are Whiskey Alpha 7 Lima Alpha Whiskey. They don't know who you are and they can't see you.
Yeah.
So don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You're not going to be unique, you're not going to be the only one to mess up.
Yes.
Or Henry.
It's not our call signs, it's our club call signs, so sometimes we'll get mixed up, but yes, the club call. So last slide or two, excuse me, I'm not going to go through this in detail, but the logging software we use is N3FJP. It's very simple, and you can see it here. I'll do a larger screen of it next. When you sit down, we want to make sure that you get credit for the contacts that you make. So there is going to be a little button there, and we'll make sure, but just a reminder to everyone, change the operator. We do like to track it and see in our reports who is making contacts, how many contacts you made in that. So just a reminder, when you sit down and you start to make contacts, change the operator. Make sure that you update the band and mode. So the band and mode will be there in the lower right. Make sure that if we're making contacts on 40 meter, it's set for 40 meter. So a reminder about that, it's pretty straightforward. And then watching for duplicates. So I'll do a larger screen version of it. So on the very bottom, you can see the operator name. In this case, it's my call. I need to take off the rover. I think I was maybe roving or something. And it'll also have your state and the county, so it'll have the information you're exchanging here. It'll have the band, like I mentioned. So right now it's set for 40 meter and phone. And so you can change those by clicking on them, and it'll scroll through, or you can also change your mode up here, or change your band up here. So there's a little drop down, and you can do that. Yes, Mike?
So you're not using cat control, the software to pick up the band? Okay.
No, we're real simple folk here. I'm teasing. This is simple. That is a good point. There are other logging softwares. Is it NN whatever?
This will do it too.
This will do it too. We haven't done it yet. What we'll usually do is we'll link them all on field day and for 7QP, so that as we're making contacts, we have a master file and log. But we don't have it set up for cat control. Maybe it's something we can think about.
Look, I was just saying, and you're usually working with a pair. Somebody doing the logging, you're
Yeah.
operating the radio, so you don't have to worry about inputting the information. The logger does that for you.
Yeah, but it is a good thing, and it's something we should look at.
All it's going to take, because I have the same thing on my radio, you download a driver to the or we could just plug it, put it in on a thumb drive.
Yeah.
And then it's just a USB-A cable, I think it is, to the back of the radio to a USB on the side. And then any change you make to the radio is reflected on that.
Awesome.
The only thing you have to watch out for is make sure you're still coordinating band changes
Yes.
with the antenna changes.
Yes.
No, it's a good point. So it's something to look at, it's a good reminder, and I'm not going over it today. But like mentioned, when we are changing bands, what we'll show you when you get in the tent is we'll have probably 2 antennas that we'll have set up linked into a control panel. And we've got some switches and some triplexers and units there. So we just want to communicate which band we're on at each station. And so that we're on different bands for each station. So yeah, we will go through that. But again, if it's your first time, we want you to sit down at the radio and be good to go. So changing, making sure these are right. And then if you're here at the station, you're going to put in the call sign right here. And if you type in a call sign and someone else has made contact on that band in that mode, it will tell you duplicate. So if you see duplicate, you don't need to worry about making a contact. Keep scrolling through. The other thing that's kind of cool is it'll tell us our score. And again, we'll have a station set up that'll show the roll up for the club. And then as we work the different counties, it'll start to list those and move those into county work. So in this case, or this example, we've worked this county and then we've got 258 remaining counties to go. It'll also show you this, in this case, the states that we work. So the 7th area states are all the other states. It'll turn blue when it's worked and it's red if we haven't worked it yet. So again, it's a pretty simple screen. There's a few other things. So just a reminder, in the settings, change to make sure you're getting credit, make sure we're on the right band and mode. And then you put in the call. It'll tell you if there's a duplicates, and then their county and their state will show up here. So pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Again, any questions? I know we've got a few minutes before testing. Yeah.
So what's the strategy if there's like a dozen New Mexico stations calling from the same county?
Yeah.
Do you want to work all of those for points, or do you want to try and move on to others?
Yeah, I'd say the goal for multiplier, the goal if we have the county and there's other stations and other counties that we don't have or states we don't have because of the multiplier. But ultimately, what usually happen is you're just going to kind of scroll through the band and you're going to listen and see if you've made contact with them before or not. And if not, we'll try and make contact. So I don't know anything to add. Or
On the other hand, that person that you're ignoring, he might need Snohomish County. So you answer him even though we've got that county that he's in. You've helped him work it. Yeah, it's easier just to work everybody.
For 7QP, it's generally it's about having the fun and getting folks on the air. And if we get the multipliers, the points, that's cool. But
Points is points.
He's a competitor.
there's various folks. I would love to get as many points and go through, but I just love the excitement of getting people on the air too. So that's the passion I have.
Are there any power limits on this?
So we all have 100. I forget if there's different categories or are there limits to power?
Oh yeah,
Power limits.
Well, no.
It's usually 5 watts, 100 watts, and unlimited.
Yeah, there are different categories. I think for our category, I think generally it's 100. I think sometimes, I haven't read the rules recently. Sometimes you'll do a QRP. If you're out mobile, it's kind of fun to do a QRP, and it's usually like under 5 watts. Standard, I think, is up to 100, and then sometimes you can be full all whatever, and do 1,000 or whatever. But
Field day has solar.
for field day, yeah. Yeah, Joe.
There's one other thing that there is going to be at least one group of states, they're called the New England states, are going to be doing a QRP or doing a contest on the same weekend. And then there's, I think another state is also having, and they're looking for your state only.
Yeah.
And you may be given their county, but it doesn't matter because all you want is the state's name.
Yeah. No, it's a good reminder, there's other events going on the same day, so they might not have the same exchange.
Plus
That's a good
parks on the
reminder.
air.
Plus there's sparks in the air and other things, yeah.
How do people outside the 7th know this is going on?
Yeah, so there's a few ways. I'll say there's a contest calendar that's out there that sometimes people will look. I think it's 8-day contest calendar. It'll give you all the different events coming up. But if folks are just tuning around and they hear CQ7QP, that's the main thing that they would know, okay, this is part of 7QP. And so they know it's in advance. They may not know the exchange. And so usually people will listen for what's the exchange that I need to give. There might be people that respond, they're new, they don't know what we need. So we'll say, hey, if you're in this state, well, what's your state and your county? And if they're in the 7th region, we need those both. If not, we just need their state. Good question. John?
Quick word about the contest calendar. Since it's easy, it's contestcalendar.com.
Contestcalendar.com.
There's several of them.
There's several of it, yeah.
Or you can wait for the John report.
Or John sends out a lot of emails of upcoming events, which is very helpful.
John report.
John report. Anything else? Yes, Michael, yeah.
Quickly, for folks who have not done this before especially, James has mentioned a few times the 7300 radio. It's not an accident that we have these. There's endless features on this radio, but the basic operation is right there. You don't have to worry about menus or anything. It's super easy to learn. I've never seen anything like it. It's an amazing design. And this little screen here will even show you, oh, here's a station talking right here. It's a touch screen. You go, boop, and it's all tuned in. But it's really quick to learn how to run this thing.
Yeah, no, that's a great, I brought it up just to show again, this is my sales pitch. If you have not been to 7QP or Field Day, please join one. There's a tuning knob that we can tune frequencies. Again, we'll have a band plan to make sure you know what frequencies we should be in, but as long as you can turn the dial and there's a volume, or no, that's the wrong one. Here's the volume. Lower left. And so we can kind of tune through. To change bands, you click the button and you choose the band. I'll go back to 14. And also there's a tuner button here, the third one down the bottom. If you press and hold that, it'll tune. So again, we will go over all that, but that's the basics of using this radio. One time I was stuck for so long at one of the club events, and I was trying to figure out why I could not hear stations. And I'm like, they're not coming in quite clear. Somehow someone changed it to lower sideband on 20 I was so confused. So that happens once, then you realize, oh, upper sideband. Any other last minute questions? I know we need to get set up here and get it for testing, but any other questions?
One real quick one.
Yeah.
For Randy, maybe. Are you the only CW guy on there?
Last field day I was the only one, yeah.
Because I saw you there. And on this particular contest, do you hang around a certain speed or?
I just follow what they're sending, and I just try to repeat what they're doing.
Okay. I might try CW with you.
Because you want to go slower, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, 20 word per minute,
Yeah, well, I can do 20 word per minute.
Okay, you'll be
When I'm
okay.
totally relaxed and there's no.
You'll be okay, yeah.
That is awesome. Well, that's what this is about. I sat with Randy even though I wasn't caught enough to do anything. It was more just to sit and listen and absorb it. So yeah, even if you're just thinking about CW or you're not there, just to sit with someone, that's great. If you're more advanced and ready to start making contacts, that's what it's about. So hopefully you felt the passion today of why it's important and why we do this as a club. Hopefully it took away maybe some of the fears or things of what it might look like so you're comfortable when you show up and be part of the event. And again, great to see everyone today and hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. 7-3.
Al Perkins.